Coercive control can be very hard to notice and understand, even if you're a victim. This is because the impact often isn't the abuser's specific words or actions, but what the abuser has trained you to understand that they mean. For example, how the abuser breathes might be imperceptible to anyone else, but it rips through your life like a hurricane, because you know it's a warning that he's unhappy with you, and that he will make your life immensely difficult this week. Coercive control constrains victims' lives and causes them to live in fear. The evidence of coercive control isn't what's present, like bruises, but what's absent, like a lack of freedom, the smallness of your life, and the gaps that have been eroded away by the abuser.
Our father's coercive control had a long and lasting impact on all of us, but particularly our mum, Claire. Mum was alienated from us children, her family and her friends. When Luke and I left home for university, our father ensured that there was no way for us to contact our mother. Throughout our lives, our father interfered with Mum's parenting. He shut down communication channels between us and relentlessly undermined the few decisions that Mum was allowed to make. He would often fabricate damaging stories about Mum and tell them to us children in attempts to turn us against her.
Mum also had no privacy and was not able to live independently. Our father would check the dial history of Mum's mobile phone, and he interrogated her over every call that was logged. Our father even controlled what information our mum could access by dictating what newspapers she could buy and banning her from accessing the internet alone. Mum could only access the internet if our father was sat beside her, carefully watching her activity.
Mum's health conditions were exploited by our father. Mum suffered from a range of health conditions, including multiple sclerosis and trigeminal neuralgia. Stress amplified her illnesses, and our father used that as a weapon against her. He was able to inflict excruciating pain on Mum by screaming and shouting at her to induce stress and trigger an attack. All of this pain was inflicted without leaving a single bruise. Once he'd triggered Mum's attacks, he'd say she needed more painkilling drugs so he could sedate and control her further. He'd then say he needed to save more money for the eventual treatment of her diseases. Once he'd confiscated even more money from her, he'd then gamble it away or spend it on holidays for himself.
Mum had hopes and dreams, ambitions and goals. Our father did everything he could to crush all of these. Seeing friends, participating in sports, or having an evening out with co-workers. All of these were near impossible. Mum excelled at her job and loved her work. On several occasions she was asked to run a department, a promotion opportunity which filled her with pride, only for our father to repeatedly insist that she turned it down. The promotion would have meant Mum changing from part-time work to full-time work, and hence more time away from him and his surveillance at home. It would have been a significant pay rise, and thereby a possibility of creating financial independence, something our father never would have allowed.
Our father created dependency, isolation and poverty in Mum's life, a perfect recipe to control every decision she would make even decades later, and there was never a single bruise to be seen. Coercive control steals opportunities, possibilities and happiness. It is also a strong indicator of risk of homicide. Despite our father not being violent, Mum had lost decades of her life, even before the murders.